Hey everyone, I'm Henry. I'm a spiritual leader and I have a PhD in the philosophy of religion. Please seek professional help in dealing with any substance abuse issues. So it is day 34 of 90 days. It feels like I'm about halfway. Around day 30 is a month, and it would have been so easy just to slide back in. Um, and it seems 30 days is a good time to get a sense that that habit is ingrained, but it would be so easy to go back. And so I really want to push this, and I have found in the past doing 90 days really cements it in. And that's a whole college semester, that's a whole season. 90 days is a big chunk of a whole year, and you really ground yourself by doing 90 days. So today, I wanted to consolidate what I've been talking about with alcohol, and I would sum it up this way. Alcohol is a very dangerous and powerfully addictive and unhealthy drug that, yes, it provides an elevated mood for a while, but ultimately it takes back everything it gives. There's no free lunch. And it's really amazing that this insidious substance is so socially accepted. That's so culturally accepted. And the vast majority of people, I would suggest, would actually be happier by zero use of this substance. So try 90 days off. I think those are the main themes that I have found. So firstly, 90 days is really a good time to get a better perspective on really anything in life. You really make a commitment. It's easy to fall back after a few weeks, but really 90 days is a real challenge, and it means you've made a real change. So I really recommend that for you. The other thing, main point is alcohol is not a source of true happiness. And that's why I'm looking at this from a spiritual perspective. What really brings us human happiness? What are the things we really want to get in life? So I'm 62 years old now. My children are grown. I want to really know what really matters for my life. I don't want to mess around with things anymore. I've got limited time. I really want to find out what's good. And it would be easy to just do a lot of drinking of fine wine, nice cocktails, beers. It would be really nice to maybe just live in that. But I really have to question that because I'm really looking for what is really essential in life. So my journey with alcohol is really putting this under a laser beam and really trying to figure out what will provide me with true happiness. And what I have found is that alcohol takes back everything it gives. After you've been having a few drinks, you enjoy it. Normally you're tired, your brain is tired out, your brain just wants to get back to homeostasis, to balance of all its many chemicals and processes. Your sleep is not as good that night, you don't feel as good the next day. When you add up all the chits and pieces, you pay for that little elevated mood that you got while drinking. And I'm sick of paying that. Again, I want all of my life to be good, not just while ingesting a chemical substance. And again, ingesting a chemical substance, I don't know if that's really authentic. I mean, we do it with friends, we feel it's authentic, but maybe just being with friends without drinking alcohol is just as good. And I think it is. And that's what I think it takes 90 days to really understand. Another aspect is that, yes, it provides an elevated mood for a while, but there are these other problems that you have to deal with. You have to be constantly bargaining and limiting your drinking. You have to deal with driving. You have to deal with the extra calories. And all of those add in to a detraction from happiness. And those are the result of alcohol. That feeling that you get on days you don't drink, that it would be nice to drink that again. That's the addictive pull. That's a negative for happiness. And it's really great. I mean, I experience that now. after 30 days. It's like I'm not feeling that pull in the afternoons because my brain and myself has gotten used to the idea, no, I'm not drinking for 90 days, so why tempt myself with it? It's great to have that gone. It makes me happy to know that I won't be feeling that in the afternoons. Another major point is that it is a serious drug. It's not just like caffeine. People normally can get off caffeine. You can wean yourself down. It's not like people really have bad behaviors on caffeine. Alcohol really can do some dangerous, really bad stuff to people. It's a serious drug. 15% of the population in a drinking society normally will become addicted or have serious problems with alcohol. And I look at it this way, it's very similar to cocaine. And if cocaine were normalized, and in some microcultures in the US it is, it would be more tempting to use it. But I mean, I don't know, I think like a lot of people would never use cocaine, but they don't have a problem with having 3, 4, 5 drinks. That's a serious intake of a serious drug. And I think we have to realize that. And we should realize it, even if you're a light to moderate drinker, because you can get hooked and you can get into a danger zone with this serious drug. It's not just a gateway drug to something worse. It's pretty bad itself. So I want to talk about the specific dangers. There's a risk of car accidents, even with light to moderate drinking, less REM sleep, less REM sleep, more cancers. You increase your risk for cancers, more stress hormones the next day. And the effects of alcohol, it affects the brain even hours after it's cleared the system. It's not just about hangovers, it's that small and persistent negative feeling that you can get the next day. So there are a lot of very specific dangers with it. Of course, probably the greatest one is the risk of ruining your entire life by becoming a heavy drinker and alcoholic. And then it just affects people's personalities so completely. It really changes people into, many people, into mean, violent, aggressive people, unhappy people. And it's just very, very ugly when it gets there. And you sort of run the risk of heading down that path. Now, another aspect of alcohol from a spiritual perspective, a psychological perspective, is that it is a distraction from doing other things. You become focused on the quantity and quality of the substance that you're taking, not necessarily what you are doing while you are imbibing. It really just doesn't count as doing anything. It makes you more likely to use that substance again instead of actually going for a run, playing tennis with someone, working on a hobby, working on your garden, working on sports, hiking, doing something, traveling more. It can become a replacement for what really provides true happiness and meaning in life. So it's a distraction from developing your sense of self and your habitual activities that provide essentially good things for your life. Another important aspect of the 90 days is that if you can get to a point where you make this decision for 90 days, and if you eventually make a decision to be a teetotaler, to never have alcohol, that can be very clarifying for the mind. So we're no longer a divided mind, no longer conflicted. All these negatives just go away. We can focus on other things. And I know that may be too much for many of us to say absolutely no, never drink alcohol. But it's a very freeing thing. And to be honest, that's what I felt on day 90 last year when I did this. It was not a sacrifice. It was not a negative. it was just all good. I had changed my entire life, my entire social life, into being a total non-drinker. You don't need alcohol to be happy at any time. That's what I learned. You do not need it. It ultimately doesn't give you anything, and it's not a sacrifice to give it up. So just try it for 90 days and see. Another analogy I've used is that alcohol is like salt water. It quenches your thirst. It actually tastes good because it has some salt in it. But it's going to make you more thirsty. And that's the addictive nature. The first drink calls for a second drink. And then the second drink takes the drinker. So it's like salt water. Another point is that our brains are just apparently not designed for these kind of big dopamine rushes. It's like a car engine. It's not designed to rev at 7, 8, 9,000. It will overheat. It will break down. The four physical forces will be too strong. The car can run, fine at 4,000 or 5,000 RPM, but higher that prolonged, it's not good for the car. So similarly, our brains are just not designed for these big, massive dopamine rushes. And we are designed for having pleasure and enjoyment, but I think we can have them, and a different way of looking at it is not like we're giving up that dopamine rush, because that big dopamine rush takes away later. The secret of life is to find a lot of little things and important things during the day that provide you with that happiness, and not to always look forward for that big rush with the chemicals that you take in. Another point is that there's really nothing to give up. There's nothing to feel bad about by not drinking. You're not losing any money at all, in other words. You're not losing any happiness. You're not losing anything. I've talked about this. It doesn't give anything, so giving it up is not really losing anything. It doesn't really cause goodness in life. It really doesn't cause happiness overall. That idea can become gone. And so there's no craving, there's no sense of missing out, there's no fear of missing out, because there's nothing that alcohol gives that you cannot better achieve in other ways. And the less fuel you give to that fire, the more you see that there's nothing to give up. It's a false friend. Alcohol's betraying us. There's nothing that it's doing for us that we cannot do in other ways. We can find happiness and meaning and goodness and pleasure in many other ways. It's like giving up drinking salt water. That's not hard to do. Some people will say that, well, alcohol helps them deal with stress. It gives them a break in their day, helps them relax. Well, we found that scientists are telling us that it's actually more of a stimulant for the first drink or two. So it's really not about relaxing or resting. I think it's more about relieving the withdrawal symptoms that we're having. And because we're habituated to it, we're in the habit of it, we're a little bit addicted to it. And when we, just like caffeine, people who drink a lot of caffeine, they love that first cup of coffee in the morning because it gives them energy, wakes them up. No, most of that feeling from the coffee is just you're canceling out the withdrawal symptoms that you're feeling. And the same with alcohol. It's really not necessary to relax. Much better ways of relaxing. Do some yoga, do some little hobby, do some easy physical thing, rest, take a nap. That's relaxing. Taking a stimulant is not relaxing. Now, relieving stress. Well, yeah, right at that very moment, it can relieve stress because if you're under withdrawal or you want it, you're satisfying a need created by alcohol. So in that sense, it leaves stress in the immediate moment. But it's really not relieving stress in terms of what stress is in our lives. It's not effectively dealing with issues. It's not resolving issues. It's not making ourselves stronger, more emotionally able to deal with issues, resilient. It's not making us really emotionally resilient to help deal with stress. There are much better ways. Taking a walk, exercising, working out, calling a friend, being social, taking the dog for a walk. All of those are much better ways of dealing with stress. So this idea of stress, this idea of alcohol and stress, that you need alcohol to calm down, to ease your stress, to relax, I'm not buying it. And many people will say that, oh, alcohol helps them sleep. They'll have a nightcap, that it helps them sleep. And yes, from a subjective, immediate perspective of the person, they seem to fall asleep really quickly, and they think that they have slept well. But medical researchers actually can monitor the quality of our sleep by brain waves, and they have shown that what appears to an alcoholic as good deep sleep really isn't, especially the REM sleep, the rapid eye movement sleep. So it doesn't help with sleep either. So that's one of the points, important points I want to make. And sleep is critically important to our sense of self, our sense of happiness, our mood regulation, how we feel the next day. If we don't get a really good night's sleep, we don't feel really good the next day, and then that will interfere with our spiritual practices, our sense of self. And so I think we owe it to our future selves of the next day to make sure we have a good night of sleep. So these are some of the main points that I have distilled through all of the hours that I've put in with these videos. And after 30 days, I really feel it. I really agree with it. I want to continue. I'm enjoying it. I've been working on the social situations, and I'm finding that is becoming easier and easier and easier to go back to where I was last year, where I could socialize with people who are drinking and not want to drink, not care about drinking, and just have as much fun and drive home safely.